I wanted to talk a little bit about something to contrast what I was saying earlier about Latin American politics. How I think Latin American politics is so cool, and hilarious and like entertaining because everybody clearly cares in those countries, and it just like it. You have all of the like wackiness of American politics, but people actually give a shit about their country. And I don't mean that in a necessarily in a nationalistic sense. I mean it in a sort of political outcomes social science sense. Not to say that like everybody there is well educated, right? But like people are like, yeah, we should have better infrastructure and education and stuff, and we need to direct state resources towards the rural, like underfunded communities that really need assistance, right? And I wanted to contrast that to American politics, where Kamala Harris has decided that she's not done. Apparently, she's staying in politics and potentially intends to run for president again. And you have to be a special kind of bad. You have to be a special kind of evil, stupid, and myopic for me to compare Hillary Clinton to you favorably. As in, I'm going to compare Hillary Clinton to Kamala Harris and argue that Hillary Clinton is actually the more preferable of the two. Right? That's and the reason I do that is because nobody fucking likes Hillary Clinton. Everybody hates her. But Hillary Clinton is at least smart. One thing that you cannot say of Hillary Clinton is that she is a dumb person. No, she's very well educated. She has served various positions in government where she's been able to basically flex the size of her brain in statecraft and policymaking, speaking particularly about her role as the Secretary of State in the Obama admin. The Bill Clinton apparently bombed Serbia on her say-so, which is a Hillary Clinton W. She has a few W's and actually decided after the nth like unsuccessful presidential run in 2016 after she lost to Donald Trump. Yeah, she did the whole fucking I told you so shtick and whatever, and she's been extremely hoity-toity and a liberal. But nonetheless, she has not decided to run for president again. And I think that's an important distinction because Kamala Harris lost, didn't necessarily get blown out, but lost, in fact, lost worse than Hillary Clinton did, to Donald Trump, and then decided, nah, you know what? America hasn't had enough of me yet. Like, clear lack of, not just like, with Hillary Clinton, you could say there was some lack of introspection, but she was at least smart enough to understand, okay, look, regardless of what I think about it, clearly America does not like me, and even if I'm just looking out for my own career, I probably wouldn't want to run for president again, right? Like, that'd probably be a bad idea. And I do think, for what it's worth, Hillary Clinton does actually have a vision of America in her mind that she's trying to see through. A very neoliberal vision, something, leader of the free world, something, right? But, like, she has a working brain, is what I can say for Hillary Clinton. I cannot say the same for Kamala Harris. Complete airhead, nothing going on in there. You would not know that her dad was a Marxist economist by the way that she behaves and approaches politics. Because Kamala Harris is so absorbed in politics as a personal career path for her that she doesn't believe that she failed America. She doesn't believe that there's any self-reflection to do on her part, that she might need to reevaluate how she thinks politics works, right? Because of what Americans did in the 2024 election. No, her position is that America failed her, that America should have voted for her, and that's her only takeaway. You know? Also, what's up, Arianos? Yes, I will leave the dungeon. Bet she's speaking. They realized how wrong they were, didn't they? With a smug face. Yeah, that is basically the tone of Kamala Harris. And Hillary Clinton, you get some of that in the undertones and stuff. But also she's just like, wow, it's really bad that Donald Trump won. And, you know, we need to go in a different direction as a country. But I'm done with, like, presidential runs or something like that. You know? Like, there's something else there. Yeah, Kamala Harris, like, wants to come back and lose even harder. And you know what? Sure. Because I think this also speaks to a fundamental failure of... Oh, hey, Goldrake. Nice. Now I'm as cool as Alakazam in this game. And Charizard and Tyranitar. It speaks to a fundamental failure, I think, of the Democratic Party because they elevated her and their consultants specifically encouraged her to run that type of campaign, you know? And that she was susceptible to consultants, and the fact that the Democrats even hired consultants like that in the first place. You know, I've talked about this before. In fact, I talked about it in the video where I fucking lambasted the Kamala Harris campaign when it was still going and when I was volunteering for them. I volunteered for the Kamala Harris campaign because I thought, man, I would hate to see Trump win again. Unfortunately, the campaign, look, we talked about this. Other volunteers and I talked about this. I will not name names, but they were very cool people and I love them. We talked about how much the Democratic Party was self-sabotaging, even like during our time volunteering for the Democrats. We were trying to make them win despite their best efforts. And that's because there's a fundamental, like, failing in their view of politics. Like, they just don't, despite the fact that in order to work for the Democratic Party, you have to have an education, you have to be, you know, have white collar job experience or something like that. And I mean this sincerely. The Democrats are some of the most politically illiterate people in America. And I mean capital D Democrats. Kamala Harris, the consultants that the DNC pays, Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, you know, Democratic politicians are among the most politically uneducated people in America. Like, legitimately no clue how politics works, to such an extent that it is so noteworthy when there is a Democrat like Maxwell Frost, like AOC or Bernie Sanders or Zohran Mamdani, or Omar Fateh, Ilhan Omar, Katie Wilson. You know, I've just named 7 people. The fact that those 7 people exist in the Democratic Party with some degree of national notoriety is the exception. The exception proves the rule. There are 400 other Democrats in the House of Representatives that are varying degrees of illiterate, politically speaking. And that's how you get somebody like Kamala Harris. And that's how Kamala Harris can just, like, run that campaign into the ground and then think, no, it's not. She literally did the Skinner, like, Principal Skinner meme from The Simpsons. You know, am I out of touch? No, it's every single fucking person in America who's wrong. Obviously not every single person, right? Like, a lot of people voted for Kamala Harris, right? But shit, man. You get what I'm saying? Like, in politics, in life, in whatever, you adapt or you die, right? And the Democrats' entire modern political identity is built upon a categorical refusal to adapt and a refusal to, like, believe in stuff. they constantly view politics as a career, as like PR management, and basically like they are a collective HR department, if that makes sense, right? Like the absolute inhumanity of how the Democratic Party treats politics. You know, and like, yeah, they're like artificially generated politicians, right? Like, it's actually mind-boggling. But like they play things with such a thin margin of error where they're like, oh, okay, we have to do everything perfectly. We have to 4D chess. Like, it's, you know, not like it's a game or game, not like it's a struggle of allocating resources and building, like, in the affirmative, building a nation that will last into the future with infrastructure projects, healthcare, food, education, whatever else, like development and politics, right? But like it is, as I slipped earlier, a game, like a game of chess, you know, where the Republicans have just been going in guns blazing with the sole belief of hating minorities. But that's something they have over the Democrats, as much as an abhorrent belief as it is, because they actually believe it. The Democrats don't believe anything. You know? Yeah, they just treat it as a job opportunity boost for them. You know? I'm actually not going to take any Reviver Seeks this time. I'm running pretty low on those. I need to save those. Do I have any gold ribbons? I do not. Dude, you know what? I'm going to take out 2 special bands, because I can only ever have a maximum of 4 people on my team at a time. When's the last time a liberal has suggested a new good idea? Mark Carney on the campaign trail for Canada's prime ministership. Mark Carney suggested a new affordable housing program in Canada with the construction of new housing units. I forget what it was called. It had some sort of catchy slogan. Whether he actually intends to follow through on it at all is up in the air. But yeah, just this year, I think, Mark Carney suggested, hey, what if we built affordable housing? That was pretty cool, I think. But there's not much else that sticks out in recent memory, I have to admit. You know? In fact, you know, you compare that to Kamala Harris on the campaign trail, which is like, we're proposing a tax credit for first-time homebuyers. Like, it was so much nothing. And it is extremely rare that liberals actually propose good ideas, new good ideas in the modern day. You know? It's kind of like liberalism has kind of done all there is for liberalism to do. Like, we would just be, even if, you know, we had like an FDR-esque social democratic comeback, it would just be retreading old ground, you know? I think I've said, like, I think I've said all that I really can say about Kamala Harris being like, you know, did you guys miss me? And America collectively saying, no, the fuck we didn't. And her saying, great, I'm considering running for president again. You know? If you feel, as I do, profound hatred for the Democratic Party for showing such weakness as to, like, not believe in anything and run a failure of a candidate such as Kamala Harris, and to still, like, afford her some degree of prominence within the party, that's good, and you should hold on to that, because you should want a political party that, like, actually believes in stuff. So Yeah. In fact, legitimately, that ties into another thing that I think I want to hammer away on. I've been, like, at times a vote blue no matter who head in the past. Especially now with Zoran Mamdani. You know what? Vote blue no matter who. He's on the Democratic ticket. Vote blue no matter who, guys. But if Kamala Harris runs for president in 2028, assuming we even have an election, which we probably won't, you know, or if some other boilerplate Democrat runs and they don't go fully sicko mode, like imprisoning all the Republicans, committing billions of dollars to like infrastructure funding for rail, internet, health, education, all public spending that will be like administered by the government and would be accessible for free at the point of use and shit like that. If they don't have a national FDR style crash out where they decide, you know what, fuck it, we're turning this country around, and if you like oppose this infrastructure project, if you oppose the mission to like make Americans' lives better, if you're more concerned about throwing immigrants out of the country and like shooting minorities, then congrats, I hope you enjoy prison. Like, if they don't do that, if they don't commit to that, then I'm just not, I don't feel any obligation to vote for the Democratic candidate. Because, like, I think it would genuinely serve more utility to make the Democrats die faster than to give them any degree of illusion that they can have success on the path they're currently on. You know? Because if the Democrats win with a very milquetoast message in 2028, they're going to be very quick to be like, oh, see, this is the approach we should have had all along. And we're going to get this same cycle all over again. You know? Heel ribbon. Do I even have a heel ribbon? Dude. You know, like, if it's Newsom, if it's Harris, if it's like, I don't even know who else they would run. You know, the Democrats have been doing so little to prepare, like, for the okay, I do have a heel ribbon. For the 2028 election. I'm just not going to vote for them because it legitimately would not make a meaningful difference. It might even be worse in the long run than allowing a Republican to win. Yeah, they feel entitled to a political victory for doing nothing. You know? Not like the Democrats have any grand aspirations for after they win. They just want to be fiddly bureaucrats that competently manage the decline of an empire. You know, they don't want to actually see the country be turned around and steered in the right direction. They just want to wrench the wheel from Republicans so they can more smoothly steer it in the wrong direction. You know? Oh yeah, in the primary, it would be, I will vote in the primary because it would be extremely funny to see Kamala Harris lose the primary again after she did in 2019 or 2020. I don't know if you guys remember, but in 2020 the Democratic establishment coalesced around Joe Biden. It was part of the reason that Joe Biden was as pro-labor as he was, is because there was number one, he had a genuine belief in unions, but then number two, Bernie Sanders was very close in his ear and was able to convince him that he needed the support of the Progressive Coalition. Kamala Harris was running as a candidate in that primary election cycle, and she got maybe 1% of the votes. Yeah, that's my obligatory periodic crash out at the Democratic Party, being really mad at them because they don't fucking believe in anything, and look at my fucking opposition party against fascism, dog. We ain't never getting a functioning democracy again. You know? And I'm sorry to say, but I hope people are ready for a bumpy-ass ride through the decline of America. Yeah, November is gonna be a fucking mess, you know? Shit, I actually, I think there's like, Virginia isn't the only state to have elections in an off year. There are other states like Pennsylvania, I think is one, that have elections in the odd numbered years. So there's going to be elections coming up. The fucking shutdown is going to be a mess. The elections are going to be a mess. Everything is going to shit in this country, and I am extremely mad at the Democrats for not doing anything or like not really principally opposing it, if that makes sense, and for permitting absolute political blight and rot like Kamala Harris to rear their detestable head to decide that, you know what, America actually hasn't had enough of me yet. That is going to be a segment. Cut it there. Future me. Thanks for watching, and support the channel if you would be so kind.